This Week in Startups is brought to you by Walker Corporate Law, specializing in the representation of entrepreneurs. Visit walkercorporatelaw.com. Kruze Consulting, a leading tax CPA who works exclusively with funded startups. Go to kruzeconsulting.com/twist and get a free tax consultation and R&D tax credit white paper. Netsuite by Oracle, the business management software that handles every aspect of your business in an easy-to-use cloud platform. Get Netsuite's guide, Crushing the 5 Barriers to Growth, when you go to netsuite.com/twist.
A decade ago, a company joined Techstars Incubator in Boulder, Colorado, and that company was SendGrid, and they went public. The first incubator company to ever go public came out of Techstars. You might think, Y Combinator or 500 Startups? Nope. It came out of Techstars, and that company was recently acquired by Twilio, another amazing company. And to talk about the amazing growth that SendGrid has had and this journey from growth all the way to acquisition is Sameer Dholakia.
Hey.
Did I get it right, Dholakia?
You got it perfect.
Perfect.
That's it. Yeah.
I slam dunked it. Dholakia.
You did.
Sameer Dholakia, who is the CEO. And you joined, what, year 4 or 5 of the company?
That's right. Yeah. 5 years in.
5 years in.
Yeah.
And this is sometimes like a controversial topic.
Yeah.
Bringing in a professional CEO. How did that all go down? Was it out of some weakness, the company was not being managed properly, or opportunistic? They wanted to deal with the scaling and they did a proper search, et cetera. How did it come about that you got drawn into this?
Yeah, I think I was the second actually professional CEO brought in.
Oh, wow.
So the founding story, 3 developers, awesome, amazing guys, Isaac, Tim, and Jose, kicked this thing off in 2009, as you said, through Techstars.
Yeah.
And they just had this insight that every time you build an application, when you click on the forgot password button, there has to be code that sits behind it that sends you an automated email that allows you to go and reset it. Or if you click the buy button, same thing. Like an automated email comes in, no human. And setting up the code to do that was crazy complicated. And they're like, this shouldn't be that complicated. Every application on the planet, every website on the planet has to do this. Let's make something easy, put it in the cloud, and off they go. So they literally come out of the Techstars, they graduate from Techstars at the end of the program, and everyone in the program is using it. And It's immediate, like they go, the acceleration of the business was immediate. About 2 years in, maybe not even that, about 2 years in, they got their Series A and were asked, hey, gents, we'd love to bring in a professional CEO that can continue to help scale this thing because it's clearly going to be a rocket ship.
Right.
So that's when my predecessor came in, a guy named Jim Franklin, great guy who did amazing work for the business, for which we're all very grateful. And then I joined. But
he only lasted 2 years, so it couldn't have been that great.
Well, no. Actually, if I look back, I think he was there for a good 3.5, almost 3.5, 4 years.
All right.
So he did a great job. He took it from $2 million in revenue probably to about 30.
Oh, well, that would be pretty good.
Yeah, and he did a great job over that period of time. The thing that's
a double, right? 2 to 4 to 8.
It's probably
16,
even better than that. I think it was more like I think they tripled. I think it was triple, double, something like that.
Yeah, wow.
I think in those
That's
first few years, it was a great run.
Give him credit.
Absolutely, and I'm really great. The thing I'm most grateful to Jim for is the culture that he embedded in the company at that early stage. And we care a ton about culture and people and values, and how we do our work matters as much to us as what we're doing. And I think he did a tremendous job. He brought this notion of what we call the 4 H's: happy, hungry, humble, and honest. It's very simple, easy to remember. Those were the
and that
values.
Became the culture. That became like your values, I guess.
That's right.
Before you came there, did you think values was like a soft kind of, wishy-washy, feel-good, hippy-dippy, whatever kind of thing? Or did you actually believe in culture back then, 10 years ago?
Even then, I would say 10 or 15 years ago, I was probably more on the, okay, that's all fine and good. If you don't have a great business, you're in trouble, which I still think is true. But by the time I got to that stage of my career, when I was looking for my next thing, on my criteria list of the opportunity I wanted to find next, culture was near the top of the list.
Got it.
I really cared a lot about it.
Define culture for people who are founders, and let's say they're not at 30 million yet, but they're building towards that. And How should they think about culture? Because it's a word that's kind of loaded, right? Like culture, the culture, what culture, what does it mean practically?
We talk a lot about it as who we are the kind of the values that we exhibit, right? But the culture to me is sort of the sum of every interaction that happens among our teammates and our customers, our partners, in every hallway conversation, in every meeting room, every negotiation we do. That, to me, it's how we show up in those moments define your culture. And there are guardrails that you want to set up around that of like, this is how we want to show up. This is how we want to work with each other. And I'll tell you, I think that having a constant set of reinforcements of this is how we want to do it is really important. And I would say, all the founders and CEOs out there building companies, institutionalizing those values is the only way to actually make those things real. Because otherwise, they're really just the posters on the wall in the cafeteria.
Yeah, like motivational posters that are really just contrived and
But what I always
easy to dismiss.
Absolutely, right. As you'll start walking past them and you'll never notice them again.
But look, an iceberg.
Right. In our world,
dolphin.
I think it's really important that that you embed them into your actual activities day to day.
How do you do that? Like you said, one, humble, and then what was the other one? Hustle.
Happy.
Okay, hungry, we got that. Hungry. Okay, that's not
humble
hustle.
And honest.
So how do you get hungry? What was it? Wait.
Happy.
Happy. We got. Okay.
Yeah. Hungry.
Hungry, that's what I'm interested in. Hungry,
humble.
How do you get those two to
hungry and humble?
Yeah, give me an example of how you make sure everybody's hungry and humble concurrently, because these seem like
and they are, and that's actually one of the beauties. Is sometimes you want some tension between the two, but part of the thing that we found we had to do, as an example, if you really care about culture, the people coming in the door, the people you are hiring, if you're in a startup, the person you make an offer to next is probably the most important decision you made as a business that week. And so what we did is said, okay, well, we care a lot about values. We care a lot about recruiting and the talent we're bringing aboard to take the hill with us. So we literally took each of the 4 H's, wrote it down a set of questions that we believed would help us elicit whether or not we thought that person aligned with our worldview.
So you created a questionnaire.
Yeah.
That your interviewers will do that align with the values.
Exactly. Like, I'll give you an example. Like for the humble.
Do they know that when those questions are being asked that they're aligned there, or is that like just a little internal thing?
All the interviewers know. Yeah. The interviewees do not.
Do not. So they're just answering questions.
They're just answering questions. So like as an example, we would have one for the humble age that would be, Jason, tell us a little bit about the professional accomplishment you are most proud of.
I'm the greatest angel investor of all time.
There you go.
Everybody else is second to me.
And you would maybe not pass that humble age
exactly.
test.
That's why I was making the joke.
No, but what we would do is
have you
ask
thought
that question.
This through?
We would ask that question, and then literally the interviewer would sit back and just do a pronoun count. How many times did the interviewee use the pronoun I versus we? And that would usually tell us everything we needed to know about whether or not they were going to fit in.
I have hit 7 unicorns. I have dominated the landscape.
Exactly. Right.
There is no we.
There's no we in team.
I'm joking.
No, I'm kidding.
So that's fascinating. So on the way in,
you have to operationalize.
When you fire people and you dismiss them and you terminate them, are you like pointing to the like you're not humble, or at that point it's just it's over?
By that point, we try to love people out with grace.
Love people out with grace. Unpack that.
Yeah. I believe that at the end of the day, if for whatever reason things don't work out between a company and a teammate, it is going to be probably one of the worst days in that person's life and career. And that is not the time to be delivering hard, and even if it's constructive feedback, that we should have done months and months prior to that moment.
Right.
And if we didn't do that, shame on us. But at that moment, that is not the time to start.
It's a time for love
and grace. And you show them grace. And grace means like, are we going to explain to the entire team why so-and-so left the company? We are not. We are going, whatever reason that person wants to ascribe to their departure will be what we talk about broadly, because we're going to show them grace.
Now I know why they gave you the reins of a $30 million company. You're a considered, thoughtful person.
Well, we try.
This is why I don't get asked to run anything. Nobody's asking me to run anything because I would be like, oh, you're fired?
Yeah.
Let me explain to you. Oh, it's staff lunch? Let me explain all the reasons this person screwed up. No, it is so tempting on the way out to want to help the person.
It is, yeah.
By telling them exactly how underwhelming their performance was.
Yeah.
But it's not.
But that's just not the time.
It's not the time.
I had a great mentor of mine. I've been so lucky to have many over the course of my career, and one of them said, in the making that decision, you need to be Spock-like in the decision and Mother Teresa-like in the delivery.
Oh, that's
brilliant. And it's just a very simple. And when you think about it that way, you're like, you're right. You have to be dispassionate in making the call because it's hard, and you just got to be objective. And can I put somebody in that seat who is going to be better, enabled to help our company succeed and live up to our full potential? The answer to that is yes. You need to be Spock-like in that decision.
Yeah.
When you have that communication or conversation with your teammate, you got to be Mother Teresa-like because that's going to be the worst news they've heard in a long time.
All right. When we get back, I want to know how you grew from $330 million when you took over or so to, at the exit to Twilio, what was the revenue in the final quarter? Or the year 2018 revenue was out already or no? What's your last public
I'm
quarter?
trying to think of our last public. I think we were probably, the last public was probably north of $150 million run rate.
Whoa.
Would be the last.
Wait, 150 per quarter or per year? The year.
Per quarter. Per annualized for so for the year. Take Q3 times 4.
So you 5x'd it.
Yeah. That's about right.
Amazing. When we get back, more wisdom from Sameer on This Week in Startups. Hey, everybody, you need to have great representation for your startup. You need to have a great attorney. Well, I know one. His name is Scott Walker. And Scott has been supporting this podcast, This Week in Startups, for almost 10 years. He is a true mensch and a great attorney, and he encourages fixed fees. He doesn't waste your time with all these billable hours that reward inefficiency. No. He's got lawyers with 10, 20 years of experience on his team, and they will help you with mergers and acquisitions, licensing agreements, terms of service, privacy policies, all that stuff you need. They are a great boutique law firm that specializes in the representation of entrepreneurs and startups, and you can contact Scott Edward Walker directly at scott@walkercorporatelaw.com. Scott at Walker, WALKER, corporatelaw.com, or you can call him, 415-979-9998. Scott Walker, great guy, great attorney. He's been helping startups, I know, for a long time, and he's been supporting this podcast, since the beginning. So give him a call, 415-979-9998, or email him at scott@walkercorporatelaw.com. He really takes his time and gets to know his clients. Visit his website, walkercorporatelaw.com as well. Thank you so much, Scott, for supporting the podcast. Okay, speaking of which, let's get back to this amazing guest. Welcome back to This Week in Startups. It's our 900th and something episode, and Jackie, Emmy Award-winning producer Jackie, has committed that the next 100 episodes, as we lead into number 1,000, will be a unicorn, investor, CEO, or founder each time. Jackie, what a challenge. You've got the first 2. You've got 98 to go. I love how Jackie, Emmy Award producer Jackie, sets her own stretch goals. Incredible, Jackie. When you told me you were going to get 100 unicorns for me in the next 100 episodes, I was flabbergasted by the ambition.
Stretch goals. Stretch goals.
What a stretch goal.
Beautiful thing.
And it's so great to have SendGrid on the program because we love and use SendGrid. You may or may not know this.
You're a customer too?
Inside.com is powered by SendGrid, and we love it. Amazing. I'll give you the little commercial.
Fabulous.
We had many choices of who to go with.
Yeah.
And we did the heads-up bake-off between SendGrid and the mighty Amazon Web Services.
Mm-hmm.
SendGrid trounced it.
Woo!
Better delivery.
Yes.
Better delivery. Better API. Better data.
Documentation, I bet.
Everything.
All those things.
And the team
Fabulous.
is very humble
Thank you.
when we speak to them. And they're very helpful.
Good.
And a bunch of other H's.
That's awesome.
But...
so proud to hear that. And thank you for doing that.
But that brings up a good point. When did AWS, because it was on your watch, decide they would get into the category is called transactional email you're in.
That where we started. That's right.
That's where you started.
Yeah.
when AWS came into that space, what year were you in your tenure? And then what was that board meeting like? Because you must have known they were going to come eventually.
I think the team did, again, predated my arrival. So if I went back and looked, I want to say it was 2012. Look for a fact check. It's either 2011, either late 11 or mid 2012, somewhere in that time zone. And they came into the market, and as you would imagine, having had lots of conversations with the board and previous management team, that was an blank kind of a day.
That was an ish moment.
Yes.
Oh-ish
moment. And what was remarkable coming out of it is that it fueled SendGrid's growth. What? It actually was an accelerator, right? Totally not what you would expect.
Unpack it.
So here's what ends up happening. Amazon, being AWS, legitimizes the need for every developer on the planet to use a service like this.
As opposed to rolling their own.
Because
that was your big competitor, was somebody just throws up whatever, QMail server, whatever it is, and they're like, we can do this ourselves. We'll just rack a server.
Do it yourself. DIY. We'll set up a couple mail servers, learn the SMTP protocol. We'll be all good. And so they legitimized every developer needs one of these, created a bunch of demand and awareness for the need, and then the developers, being awesome developers, would say, well, I wonder if anybody else does this. Let me do a quick search. They would find us and then compare the two, and thankfully they all had the exact same experience that you did.
Focus matters.
And then they would say, oh, wow, these SendGrid folks have been doing exactly this and nothing but this for years. That's all they're going to do. And, we're off to the races.
Since we're in the competitive landscape, let's keep pulling this the string a little bit and see where it leads us. MailChimp, I know, did Mandrill.
That's right.
The transactional email service. It went head-to-head with you. But then they deprecated that, I guess. They shut it down, or they got out of the business?
They got out of the business as a standalone service. They still offer it to their marketing customers, but in terms of a developer looking for a transactional email solution, they got out of that business.
How would you describe MailChimp versus SendGrid here in 2019? What are the differences between those two platforms?
I would say their MailChimp kind of reverted to their roots as a email marketing provider. And I think, I would say selfishly, we would say, or perhaps, in our worldview, recognize that we SendGrid were going to continue to do what we do distinctively well and at a scale that would be hard for them to match, and that they would be better served continuing to focus on their core customer as the marketer. And to their great credit, we have immense respect for the MailChimp team.
But they're going after marketers.
So
I want to build a database and have some beautiful templates. I'll use MailChimp. I'm a developer, and I need to send whatever millions, billions of transactional email every time you get a friend request, every time you get a comment on a post, a reminder, whatever. You're going to use SendGrid.
You'll use SendGrid. And that was that's where we started. And when I joined the company, I would say to their credit, Mandrill and the MailChimp team had done a nice job. They had innovated in some areas where we were so busy scaling with our customers. We were literally just trying to keep up with the service so it didn't fall over because the demand was so great on it. More of our energy was going into scaling than it was into innovating. Mandrill added a set of things that were interesting. And I remember when I first joined, it was my assessment that Mandrill was sort of eating our lunch at the low end of the market in particular. Right. They undercut us on price materially, and they had a bunch of cool new features that we did not. And so I remember when we joined in 2015, we set up a Tiger team and said, and they had one of those pages on their website that was, the list of here are all the capabilities. Mandrill check, SendGrid X. Mandrill check, SendGrid X. And we said to the Tiger team, we want one of those to come down every month.
Wow. And here's your roadmap.
There's your roadmap. Go take them down one by one, and we're going to close any gaps. As you take them down,
do you then call out?
And we literally had our
Mandrill.
Our general counsel.
Hey.
Our general counsel called theirs and said, that's no longer true. Please remove. That's no longer true.
Because if you're doing marketing like that and it's not
factually correct.
Not factually correct. Yeah, that's not cool.
You can't do that. Every month, our GC would make a call and say, that is no longer true. And about 6 months in, they took the page down. And then about 9 months in is when they announced that they were going to get out of the standalone market.
Let me ask you a question about, because I don't understand all this stuff, deliverability.
Yes.
Now, I am a huge fan of email.
Yeah.
Because I watched trying to make it work with Google search and being disintermediated, social media being disintermediated, and then apps, you're constantly YouTube. The people who are running those ecosystems change the rules.
Yeah.
and you lose access to your actual customers that you build up through your friends and followers, right? They just deprecate it immediately. So I said, you know what, screw it. I'm going to take inside.com and make it email newsletter company.
Yeah.
And then I started wondering, am I going to be at risk of Gmail, specifically Google and Gmail, disintermediating me again? Yeah. And sure enough, they put up these 4 tabs. Promotions, forums,
social.
Yeah. Was that a move to control marketing into the email box or in users' best interest or somewhere in between? Because the cynic in me believes that they were trying not just to make life easier for users, but maybe negate people's ability to get in, marketers' ability to get into inboxes.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think it genuinely came from a place of wanting to improve the user experience. What we found that was remarkable was from the introduction of those tabs, and we had, as you would imagine, lots of customers who were very concerned about it. Like, oh my gosh, what's it going to do to my open rates and my click-through rates? And that drives a lot of revenue for our customers. Yeah. And what was remarkable, it actually didn't have a material impact for a couple of reasons. One, I think it's something on the order of about 60-something% of the emails we deliver on behalf of our, whatever our latest public number was, 70,000, I think was the latest public, 74,000 paying customers, another 120,000 free customers. Where was I going with that?
The deliverability, 60%?
Oh, that 60% are opened on a mobile device.
Oh.
And you know what? On a mobile device, there are no tabs.
Yeah.
As it turns out.
Yeah.
And because just the form factor, you don't do the tabs. And those that were on desktop, it didn't have as big of an impact on open and click-through rates because the people that really cared and were engaged with the brands, they went and found them.
It does seem that those brands also, when you interact with email in your promotions tab, or one of those other tabs that's not the inbox, does it automatically Gmail send it over to your main box? That's something I've been trying to figure out. Like, so let's say you read Stratechery every day or Inside San Francisco every day.
Yeah.
If you're opening it every day and it's in your promotions tab, does it automatically
move it over? That's a good question. They use so much machine learning over there. I'd be shocked if it didn't. Yeah. I know that from my own experience having used it, it's like a very simple click to say move to my primary tab, my primary inbox.
Email is having a huge resurgence.
Yes.
Like the last year or two has been amazing how every startup and all these companies are saying, we got to get back to email.
Yeah.
When we get back from this quick break, I want to know what's behind that. Mm-hmm. And then what is the value of an email subscriber or an email address versus, like, say, having a follower on a social network when we get back on This Week in Startups. Hey everybody, I want to talk to you a little bit about saving thousands of dollars a year, maybe even hundreds of thousands in payroll taxes by taking advantage of R&D tax credits, research and development. They're complicated, I know, but you need a startup tax expert like Kruze Consulting because most CPAs don't know anything about startups and they don't know anything about these R&D credits. Well, Kruze Consulting can set up startups to fly through their finances and taxes and due diligence super fast, and they are saving their clients $3 million this year in payroll taxes. In fact, Calm and Superhuman, 2 of my portfolio companies, love Kruze Consulting. Vivek from Superhuman says, they set up our books, finances, and other operations and are constantly organized and on top of things. As a startup, you have to focus on your product and customers, and Kruze takes care of everything else. Massive sigh of relief for Vivek over at Superhuman. And he says he highly, 3 highlies, recommends working with Vanessa and her team. If you are a seed or venture funded Delaware C Corp, which I know you are, go to kruzeconsulting.com/twist. That's kruzeconsulting.com/twist. KRUZECONSULTING.com/twist. And you will get a free tax consultation and R&D tax credit white paper so you can learn about saving perhaps hundreds of thousands of dollars on payroll taxes. Get in there and go visit kruzeconsulting.com/twist. Okay, let's get back to this amazing episode. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to This Week in Startups. I'm your host, Jason Calacanis. You can follow me, Instagram.com/Jason, and you will see pictures and stories about my kids and whatever meat I am grilling. That's it. You will also see sometimes some traveling and some FOMA stuff, but rest assured, all of the FOMA traveling posts, those are all photoshopped by my team. And they just put that up there to make
You've been to nowhere interesting ever.
No, this is my new thing. I'm having my team Photoshop me at whatever the greatest event is. So when Coachella's going on,
You're
or
there.
like they're running the
Burning
Bulls
Man.
in Italy, Burning Man, they just Photoshop me into those.
Yeah.
And then we post them, and then we post a private jet in between, which I don't have.
Of course.
You have one now that you've sold the company. And then we just let people wonder how I'm able to live this lifestyle and be so productive.
Fabulous.
My guest today, Sameer Dholakia.
You're still nailing it.
Dholakia. Is it
Still
Indian or Pakistani?
Indian.
It's Indian.
Yeah. Parents born and raised in Mumbai, India.
You're kidding.
Yeah.
Wow. They still there? Or they immigrated
No,
here?
immigrated to the States in the 60s. And so that's where my brother and I were born and raised.
Really? Where?
Just outside of Boston, Massachusetts.
Wow.
Yeah.
How was that?
Rough.
It was rough?
Well, I say rough only because, there wasn't.
Well, Boston's rough.
Yeah, there wasn't a
Period.
lot of. There weren't a lot of Indian families around. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
We stood out a little.
And those Bostonian unique butterflies, they're just so graceful, to your point of being graceful and gentle.
Yes. Yeah. They're very welcoming of newcomers.
Absolutely in Boston.
I joke about that, and I should say in all sincerity, our particular neighborhood was amazing, and our neighbors were awesome, and they were very welcoming.
Yeah.
The broader community around us, the town at large, a little bit different. I was where's the brown kid at Little League tryouts. So it's very, it was different.
It was a different moment in time. Now,
also true.
You're crushing it. Do you buy into this? I think a lot of my Indian friends will call it the curry ceiling. Are you aware of this?
No,
you've never
I've not
heard this.
That.
Yeah,
it's the curry ceiling.
Yeah,
not Steph Curry, but
Steph
the curry, like our curry,
like curry food.
Curry food.
So they would call it in the 90s. There was a belief in Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
That Indians could ascend to, really high positions, like VP, SVP.
Yeah, but
management team, not so much.
Yeah.
Did you experience that coming up? Did you feel like maybe?
I didn't. I was very fortunate. SendGrid's my second CEO job. My first one I had 10 or 11 years ago now. And so I was fortunate that I didn't experience that. But I think times are changing. I think it helps that right now, I was in, it's a fun trips. I was in Italy over the summer with my family on vacation, and I was in this, at this resort, and there was an investor that was hanging out in the pool, and, you start chit-chatting Americans in foreign place, start talking. And he says, I really hope, I'm waiting for an Indian to take over Facebook, because it worked out really well when
Microsoft
when
and Google
Sundar took over Google
and
Satya took over Microsoft, and so I'm just waiting for that, and I had to laugh. I was
That's
like,
hilarious.
I actually think Zuck's doing all right, but I understand.
You do? Well, actually, back to your point. Wow, we found somebody who's in favor of Zuck's unique management style. But to your point of management style, if you were going to pick a value, move fast and break things, where would that be on your list?
It's important to be on the list. I think progress over perfection is something that we talk a lot about at the joint company, Twilio, SendGrid.
Being nimble.
Be nimble. Yeah,
sure.
Those matter. I would say we often start from a we, not I headset. Teams do great things. It's humility first. Yeah. We're customer centric. We're here to serve our customers.
So bull in a China shop,
it's probably not as prominent as we are here to serve our customers.
It was such a great, when you think about it though, in retrospect, move fast and break things, just gave everybody permission with just that one value to not care about mistakes, which, if you break some, who cares? So you broke it, who cares?
Yeah.
However, that served them so well on the way up and so poorly at scale.
I think it's a very interesting point. There's a time and place for things, and you're absolutely like it drove probably a set of innovations where small teams are moving at speed, and that can be awesome. And as you are at scale, it can be a little bit more dangerous, and you got to
like taking rubles for racist ads against Hillary Clinton.
Intentionally or not. Yeah.
I mean, they literally spend more time, I think, on keeping competitors off the platform than they did looking at advertisers. Like, why would we put any cycles on slowing down people spending money?
Right.
Let's just kill all our competitors by, you saw that VPN thing they were doing, studying all the, they basically bought a company, Unvio or something. It was an Israeli company that would be a VPN. Then they used the VPN. They bought the company because the VPN was on so many phones that they knew exactly the utilization of Snapchat, WhatsApp, etc. So then they had the inside information of which apps to kill, which ones to buy, which, it was pretty nefarious craziness. Speaking of which, how do you deal with that? Because I know that was a MailChimp issue too in the beginning days. Email is used for a lot of nefarious spear phishing, phishing, craziness, spam, obviously.
Yeah.
How do you, when you're giving away the first free 10,000 emails for free, like isn't that one of the core offerings is to get the first 10,000 emails a day free? How do you mitigate against Russian hackers spamming and all that? And how often are you attacked?
Yeah. Unfortunately, all the time. And I would say it's one of the reasons I believe SendGrid has been so successful is we've invested over the past literally decade tons of both process and engineering to defense systems, and I think we built a brand and a reputation in the industry. We actually will fire lots and lots of customers, new signups that we do not believe are sending wanted mail. Like that's our catchphrase. Like we only want to deliver wanted mail. Wanted mail means the recipient asked to get it and they're happy to be receiving it. Like the open rates on our platform, like we sent, just by the way, just as a sense of scale, I think we sent something on the order of, I got to go. Last public number was north of 40 billion emails in a month, over 1 billion emails every single day. Our open rates are north of 20%. That's a lot.
That's pretty great.
That's pretty impressive.
I mean, retailers are
scale.
getting 5-10% open rates.
3 to 5, they'd be doing cartwheels.
Yeah.
So we send wanted mail, and we pride ourselves in that. But we had to go build machine learning systems to go vet people that are coming in to sign up, and we would check a bunch of different variables and figure out does this look like legitimate. Then we check we're only going to let them send a little bit, and then we're going to go watch the engagement rates with their subscribers. And we will open the funnel or the pipe if it's looking good. And if it's looking really bad and people are getting flagged as spam, we shut it down.
When I hit spam in Gmail or somebody hits it in their whatever mail client they're using, Yahoo, whatever, does that data get back to you somehow? Is there a protocol? And what is that protocol? How does it work? Yeah,
we actually partnered closely with Google and then later Yahoo and other ISPs, inbox service providers, to create something we call the FBL, the feedback loop. And we literally said, we all in this ecosystem have a aligned incentive to want to keep the bad actors out. Nobody wants the spear phishing email, grandma's being taken advantage of, spam flooding our inbox. You can't actually get to the right one. So we have a lot of data about who looks like a bad actor. You all have a lot of data on who looks like a bad actor. Let's create a feedback loop both ways. And so we started that, and then because you're trying to do the right thing, we're like, you know what, we should open this up to other ESPs, email service providers that compete with SendGrid, and the ISPs, now provide that out to all the ESPs. But I think it's helped immensely to cut down on spam and phish as a result over the last, call it 5 years.
How did you get from 30 million or so to 150 million? What does that take? I mean, I guess the easy answer is like 5 years.
Yeah,
but.
A lot of hard work.
Yeah. When you come into a system, you're like, wow, there's a big pile of cash. Now the expectation is I grow it meaningfully by the board. How do you make a 5-year plan? Do you make a 1-year plan? What is that growth? What's important in that growth phase? Because that's a serious, it's one thing to get a company to 10, 20 million.
Yeah.
It's a whole nother thing to get to 9 figures.
Yeah. Scaling is hard. That growth stage is an interesting time. And I would say, we did think about it over, for the next 3 to 5 years, where do we want to be? And then walk yourself backwards from there. And I believed then, and thankfully we proved true. I was like, I believe this has the ability to be a built to last company. One proxy for that is, can we be a public company, withstand the scrutiny of the public eye, be so disciplined in our operations that we can execute as a public entity. If we can do that, and we have this grand vision that we have, and that can fuel us for decades, not just years, then we can keep going. And so we looked at that and then backed in and said, okay, well, if that's true, boy, we got a lot of work to go do here. And one of the challenges you'd asked earlier, like, why was I brought in? Make a CEO change if everything's going perfectly. The primary reason was our growth rate was decelerating year over year, which happens, kind of law of large
it's a bigger
numbers.
Number, yeah.
Law of large numbers, right? You're like, oh, it's easier to double when you're tiny and that kind of thing. But we were decelerating to a growth rate that was in the 40s, going to the 30s, that might have been going to the 20s, and we said we can't have that. We got to arrest the deceleration and then reaccelerate. And that's one of the things I'm probably most proud of that we were able to accomplish in the few years after I joined, was we were able to flatten the curve. We call it the SendGrid smile, because the growth rate was going down, and then we flattened it, and then we reaccelerated, and it looks like a smiley face.
What was the key to that? Was it spending money on marketing? Was it expanding the product offering? Was it reconstituting the team?
Wow, you're good. You should be a CEO, Jason.
I choose not to be.
You just hit probably the three biggest levers that we pulled.
Okay.
In fact, we more than tripled our marketing spend in that year.
What worked best?
Most of it was, I would say, the principal channel was SEM. There's a reason Google is as big as they are.
Got it.
So that was a big part of it. We added a new product line. So you mentioned earlier, we've been known for the transactional email with the developers. We added a second product line for the marketer. And so now we do compete head-to-head with MailChimp and Campaign Monitor.
What is that
and all these
called?
Other folks. It's called Marketing Campaigns, SendGrid Marketing Campaigns. And that's now a meaningful business line for us. I'm trying to, again, the last public number on it was probably a $25 million run rate business that didn't exist.
So it's 10-15% already.
Yeah.
That's great.
And growing meaningfully faster than the overall company average. So that was a big part of it. And then we did reconstitute the executive team. We have our general counsel that is the same from the prior management team, and then every other person was new. Right. And that was a difficult and long process. I hired a new executive leader, basically one a quarter for 2 years.
Wow.
And then they would come in, and they're domain experts and had seen scales. Part of the prerequisite to hire them was, have you seen scale? Have you been at a publicly traded company? Have you gone through this phase before? And they could then come in and say, we know what great looks like. And I would just, knowing what great looks like, I think is critical to taking your team there. It's just,
right. Because they're leading you now, as opposed to you pushing people who've never been there.
That's right.
To go to the new world. It's like, I've been to the new world.
Absolutely.
I took the ship around.
Right.
We went around
and
Cape Horn. We made it. We made it back. It's all good. I've been there.
And I love being the dumbest guy in the room in our executive management team meetings, where I know my marketer or my product person or my CFO has forgotten more than I will ever know about how to do their job in that function. And I think that was a big part of our success too.
All right, when we get back, you keep bringing up going public, as was the mission there. Many Silicon Valley startups are staying private forever.
Yeah.
I don't want to point out any companies that I'm a large, meaningful shareholder in. Uber. They've now in year 10, they've filed. But you, zip, got this company public. And I want to find out why you did that and how you did it when we get back on This Week in Startups. NetSuite by Oracle. Yeah, shared spreadsheets, mutual manual processes, and legacy systems costing you tons of time. It's a disaster. But NetSuite by Oracle is the business management software that you need to handle every aspect of your business in an easy-to-use cloud platform. It's going to save you time and money and unneeded headaches by managing all your sales and finance and accounting, as well as orders, human resources, all right from your desk or even your phone. Thousands of the best-known brands and fastest-growing companies use NetSuite by Oracle to manage their business, and now it's available to you. And the world's most popular cloud management system is more affordable than you think. So don't think that this is out of reach. So here's your call to action right now. NetSuite is offering you valuable insights to overcome the obstacles that are holding you back for free. You can unleash your business's full potential with this free guide. I got it here. I printed it out. Crushing the 5 barriers to growth. You know what they are. Finding your next customer, increasing profits, cash flow, visibility. That's one you might not know about. tackling regulations, super important, and building a winning team. You can get this guide right now by going to netsuite.com/twist, netsuite, SUITE.com/twist. Go there now and get Crushing the 5 Barriers to Growth. It's a great report, and you're going to get a lot out of it. All right, welcome back to This Week in Startups. Sameer is here. He's the CEO of SendGrid. Previously, you were at Cloud Platforms Group at Citrix. I remember Citrix.
Yeah.
That's like where you could, Citrix servers allowed you to do remote work.
Yeah, exactly.
Back in the day. That was like, it started in the late 90s, didn't it? Like people were doing these, like lawyers were taking out their laptops.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like
so you could
remote desktop.
That's right. Remote desktop, virtualized applications, run one instance of an app, and you would be remoting into the app.
Yeah.
And then later it became remoting into your full desktop environment,
Yeah.
which was virtual desktop infrastructure. Yeah.
I remember putting in some of the first Citrix servers in New York back in the day for law firms. And what it was actually was a rack in a closet somewhere that each card was a PC.
Mm-hmm.
And they would dial in and would just put them on the next PC.
Yeah.
And then it would be doing screen drawing.
Yeah.
And it wasn't very good because depending on what hotel you're in, the connection, it might not. And the people were on dial-up.
Yeah.
This is on 28, whatever.
Back in the day, that was particularly hard for them. Actually, Citrix ended up buying a networking company because that was part of the experience was the network problem. They're like, well, it's not our fault. We don't own the network. And then it became clear, well, we own the customer experience. We got to solve that problem anyways. But yes, we did that too.
So you decided to go public. Or the board decided this when they hired you? That was part of the prerequisite? They wanted a CEO who wanted to go public, or?
No, not at all. I think I would say they cared to, and I would say my intention as well was, how do I help this company fulfill its potential? And I believed that meant we were going to scale, we were going to be a publicly traded company someday, that we've got a path to build $1 billion revenue business, not $1 billion market cap business.
Right.
And sort of necessarily over that period of time for us, I figured we would end up going public, but it was never the goal. And, we would say that to, all of our teammates all the time. The IPO it's just a milestone marker on the journey. It's not the destination.
But certainly for you, because we grew up, I think, in the same era. I think we're similar ages. Taking a company public was the dream of all executives.
Sure.
Like that was, even though it's a milestone, it was a major milestone.
It's a major milestone. I'm not going to lie. There's no question. I would tell you, if I reflect on my career, one of the most fun and inspiring moments was certainly having a huge team of SendGridders in front of the New York Stock Exchange.
Incredible.
People, we flew out everyone who had been at SendGrid for more than 4 or 5 years.
Wow.
Because our view was, well, they're the people who actually built this place brick by brick, and I want them there to celebrate with. So we had everybody on the stock exchange floor.
Wow.
We were doing chants. We do this callback. I say send, you say grid, send, grid, send, grid. Super fun.
Wow.
And we literally made so much noise that Jim Cramer was like, "What is going on back there? Who are these people?" But we had a blast, and it was without question was an emotional high and a great milestone.
Is it a mistake for this company to stay private so long, in your mind?
The thing that I believe,
what's the downside?
There's a lot of overhead that certainly comes with being public. There's a lot more regulatory stuff. You got to deal with SOX. There are a whole set of reasons that people argue stay out of being a public company. I would argue, and I know there are some very noted venture capitalists who would agree, that say, I think companies that go public end up maturing faster and have to because they're under the scrutiny of the public eye. And you just get better. And all those things that they require of us, you put in controls, you put in process checks, those are actually really important and good things if you want to scale a great business for a long, long time. Yeah. So I actually think there's a lot of value.
You're referencing, I think, Bill Gurley, who's just like,
right.
You guys, staying, if you want to grow up and be a big company, take the medicine, it's not the worst thing in the world. It's not like the day after.
It's a forcing function.
Yeah. Oh, is it? Yeah.
It's a forcing function to go get mature.
Right. Because you need to have a CFO who's done it before.
Mm-hmm.
You need to have a number 2 for that CFO who's done it before, wants to do it again or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. And
What was it like? Because you were public for how long before this Twilio acquisition? Let's go around third base here and talk about Twilio buying the company or merging or whatever it's considered.
Yeah, we didn't even quite get out a year. So we went public November 15th of 2017, and we announced the acquisition October 15th of 2018. Now, and this is all public in the S4 filings. We had conversations about bringing the companies together earlier before we went public.
Right.
That's obviously a window in time where people say, well, before we go out and do that, we better call them and see if they're interested. And, we had some interesting conversations with the Twilio team at the time and quite serious ones. And, I think all the reasons why we ultimately got together were true then as well. Like we had a common vision of, okay, customers need to be able to communicate with their users across lots of communication channels, not just email or not just SMS or not just voice, but they need them all.
Right.
And so we had a very common vision. We had a common model where we're going to go through developers, which is a very different go-to-market model.
Yeah, that's a last decade thing. Yes. Where the developers were making the decisions from the ground up with their credit card as opposed to top down with some CIO.
CIO, right? Yeah. See, you and I did grow up in the same generation.
The CIO would come down and play golf.
That's right.
With some
Cisco account executive,
at Citrix, and
that's right.
Then everybody in IT from the bottom up had to implement
would just follow whatever they decided.
And they'd be like, I can't believe we're doing Banyan Vines. Right. Why didn't we go with Ethernet? We're doing what?
Whatever the CIO told me to do. So, so that change in model, we're Twilio and SendGrid were perfectly aligned on the model, developer-led model, and then our culture was so aligned. So there was plenty of reasons why it made sense to get together before the IPO. And candidly, the only reason we didn't affect it then was just we couldn't make the math work. It just what they could afford and what we were willing to sell for, we just didn't line up. There's no overlap.
One of the great things about going public is you actually then get ground truth and reality.
There's no debate then about what the value of the company is. The market has now set it. And there's a clearing price, and you could argue, well, the entire market's wrong. And so that is, in fact, when Jeff and I revisited our conversation, that was a big part of the argument. He's like, well, it's not going to be as much of a debate on the valuation because the market has now set it. Whereas before we had a lot of debate over what it could be worth as a private company.
And you both have the existential threat of going into each other's markets.
Absolutely.
And
sure.
Amazon coming into yours.
That's right. Also true.
So it's at a certain point, consolidation means strength, right?
Better together.
Better together.
Better together.
Sure.
Yeah.
And when you look at those cloud players, why should somebody pick sort of the smaller player over the bigger one? Because that was always when I was in IT, you can't get fired for going to Microsoft.
Yeah.
It is insane that Microsoft does not own cloud computing and Amazon does.
Yeah.
That is surprising, isn't it?
That is not what you would have picked in 1998.
The bookseller beat
the software giant.
The software giant who's been incumbent since 1980.
Yeah.
It makes no sense.
Yeah. Disruption and innovation, innovator's dilemma, right?
Yeah.
But I do think that a big part of the reason that we do get chosen is because it is, as you just described, it's no longer the CIO top down. It is the developer bottoms up, and the developer just wants the best tool, the best building block that they need to solve the problem that's in front of them while they're building their app. And I just say, with all of my humility, I don't think there's any question that Twilio and SendGrid are the leading platforms for the areas that we serve, and it's just not close if you compare them head to head, even with the Amazon Web Services of the world.
It's interesting too. Twilio, when they came out what, 3 years ago, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, they went public. It's been a little bit, but
that's right.
Yeah, they came out. They've really had a great run since they came out.
Yeah.
That's a particularly strong company.
It's incredible. It's a great business. One that we're really excited to be joining. It's great. Yeah. It's just a great combination. It really is. I really believe.
No, I've had Jeff on the podcast, I think twice, and
he's an amazing leader. And I'll tell you,
he's also a culture. I mean, it does make sense now because he's a very culture-centric, considered. If I were to say thoughtful, he would come to mind. So you're both very thoughtful in your approach.
And it's a huge part of the reason why we were able to come together is we sat around my kitchen table, drinking Japanese whiskey together, talking about the criticality of culture and values, and we had conversations before we ever got into the numbers around, okay, let's talk about where we're similar. And more importantly, let's talk about where we're different. And how's that going to work? And would this work? And because we're both we care a ton about the people aspect of leadership and building a great company. And I'd say that part of the reason we ended up together was a deep and genuine belief that we have an opportunity to go build an iconic company that is like one for the generations. Like, this is not an interesting, solid software business. This is one that can be one of the greats.
It does seem that way, yeah. Where were you guys based? Were you based in Boulder or Denver? Where were you? Where was SendGrid? Where did they wind up? Because I know they were in Boulder for some period of time. Did they wind up moving here? Where's the headquarters?
It's funny. I would say the company is based largely in Denver by headcount. So we have 70% of our teammates, 350 of our 450 employees are in Denver, Colorado. We had offices in Boulder and Denver. We just combined everybody into downtown
Boulder's
Denver.
Too small to have a company with more than 50 people, right? There's like 3 buildings in Boulder.
Boulder is gorgeous. It's a beautiful place.
With 3 office buildings capable of holding 16 people.
If to all my Boulder friends listening, I would say in their defense, Google has a giant, actually complex out there now. I think they've got 1,000 people in Boulder now. So you can build scale there. It just, for us, it just so happened that the scale that we were building at, we were able to more readily access talent that we needed in Denver. So we made the decision.
And that's 45 minutes, though. It's not like
it's not too bad. Yeah, it's that's right. And it worked out great for us. So that's where we had the majority. We have another office down in Irvine in Southern California.
Oh, perfect.
Our founders, all 3 of those guys, Isaac, Tim, and Jose, were Southern Cal guys. So they, after we got things started in Denver, once they hired the professional CEO, the first guy, they went back to home effectively and then set up shop there. And then I joined. I'm a Bay Area guy. I live down in Menlo Park. And so we set up a shop in Redwood City, and now we've got 50 or 60 people there.
And that is the state of the art, right? Like having multiple offices, you can draw from multiple talent pools. You can't do it here.
It's
too hard in San Francisco.
Yeah, I think it's just hard if as you keep scaling. I think you take advantage of diverse talent pools. In this, the world is flat kind of world. It makes sense to have other places.
What do you think about these like closed border Trump madness? Like being somebody who benefited from coming from India.
Yeah,
with your parents.
It's funny. We talk a lot about where I draw the lines and what I talk about publicly and what I don't, et cetera. And I actually. Picked up the microphone on the immigration stuff.
Yeah.
A year and a half ago.
You're obligated to.
And for that very reason, I believe deeply and passionately this country was built by immigrants, and it's so intricately woven into how this country was built and why we've been successful. We want to continue to be a place that attracts the best and brightest and most ambitious talent in the world. And putting up walls to send them somewhere else does not intuitively make sense to me. And so immigration policy that still allows for that may have other aspects of it. I'm open, and that's all fine. But what I worry about is we go so extreme that we throw the baby out with the bathwater. That's dangerous.
Way too extreme in the rhetoric against people and this entire concept that this wasn't a melting pot. Like assimilation was. When we grew up in school, they were like, they indoctrinated into us that you assimilate when you come to America.
Yeah.
You're no longer a Greek, Irish, or an Indian. You're an Indian American. You're a Greek American.
That's right.
And then you're an American. Yeah. Like it just takes 2 generations.
That's right.
What a fabulous experiment America has been in building a solidified common culture.
Yeah.
And now we're like, well, no, our culture is not their culture. It's like, no, it's always been assimilate and melt into the pot, and it makes for a beautiful, diverse soup. Literally, that was what we were indoctrinated. Our success.
That was what we taught as kids in the classroom. That's exactly what we were taught. Melting pot. I mean, that phrase must have been used thousands of times as we were growing up.
And now people are like, why would we ever accept anybody? And I think even people think assimilation is bad. Yeah. Assimilation just means kind of agreeing on a common culture.
That we share these principles.
Right? And now you can't even get a developer from a lot of countries into America, right? I mean,
hiring, getting folks over on H-1Bs. We spend so much time and money on the legal process for that. It's hard to do it, we want to attract the best talent in the world.
Have you thought about opening an office in Canada like we did in order to route around this issue? Because, in Canada,
Yeah.
they're like, oh, you want to come here?
Yeah,
You've
sure.
got a degree?
Open doors. Yeah, sure.
Great. 5 days.
Yeah.
6 days. They just literally give people visas in days.
Yeah, that's incredible. No, we haven't done Canada yet. As SendGrid, I had to think about it, whether Twilio has or not. I don't know. Twilio's got I think we now collectively have about 20 sites around the world. So we do have sites now all over the place that we can attract in those talent pools, which is great. Yeah. But I don't think we've done Canada yet for that specific reason. But it's an issue for people in tech and software trying to hire great talent. This immigration issue is a real one.
Particularly nefarious about it too, and it impacts Indians in a major way, is a lot of I remember when I was in IT in the 90s, which you were in as well.
Yeah.
It was the H-1B visa, even as constructed, even if we have them, is very heavy-handed with immigrants. If they lose their job, they have to go back.
They have to go home, yeah.
And they have, 30 days, I think it is?
Yeah, it's a short window.
And they were hiring Indians specifically to pay them lower rates and then have this over their heads that if they will send you back to your country and your kids.
Yeah.
So can you imagine Indian Americans coming here to do the right thing for their kids, then having it lorded over to them? Why would there be a 30-day?
Yeah. No, it's crazy.
You couldn't even sell your home and book flights in 30 days. Yeah. How would anybody uproot them?
Yeah. No, it's a that tactic, and it was, it's a retention policy that is abhorrent.
It's abhorrent, and I remember almost every conversation was, can we pay them less? And I was like, why? It's the same work. Why would you be paying them less? Because they're brown, right? In people's mind, they're from India. Oh, it's a brown kid from Boston. Who cares about their future? Yeah. Insane.
Yeah. I think we've made progress. We've come a long way since then, but we got a long way to go.
Yeah, if you think about it, can you imagine if Satya and
Sundar
Google, weren't allowed into the country, or Elon Musk, or Sergey? These are all immigrants, I believe, right?
I believe not Sundar, first generation, definitely second.
Yeah,
I think but I think you're right. I think they might all.
I think
Elon
they're all
first generation.
I think they're all first generation. I think they need a fact check on that. When you look back on this whole journey, what would you change? What was the biggest mistake you made? If you could go back in time and whisper in your ear, hey, go harder here, go faster here, don't do this. You must be looking back on it and saying, well, it went well. All's well that ends well, but there's got to be a lesson or two, a mistake or two that, gosh, you wish you could get a mulligan on. What are they?
Yeah. Let's say the big mulligans, I would say I would be more aggressive going faster on the product expansions, the opportunities, the success we've seen with our marketing product has been bonkers. So far outstripped expectations. We have more than 10,000 paying customers using the thing. I mean, it's incredible. And it's because we built this beautiful, simple, brand new application versus much of what's available on the market that's been around for 15 years and it looks it. Yeah. And so having something and we put it on top of one of the world's largest sending engines. Right. So it scales.
You had half of the work done.
Yeah. Oh, we had 80% of the work done easily. And so I wish we would have gone harder on it faster. It's probably one.
It's hard when you're in a big company, you got a big money printing machine.
Yeah.
To then be like, let's build a machine, because you have this machine that's printing $100 bills, and it's like, let's build this little machine over here that breaks down and it spits out a quarter every 2 days. And it's like, it doesn't get the attention, right?
It doesn't. Your first thing, the gravitational pull to whatever your first act is. This would be, if I were to offer, my 2 rupees of wisdom to any of the CEO founders out there listening, I would just say, gosh, your act 2, think about act 2 sooner than you think. And I know everybody, common lore is stay focused and get your act 1 and, don't get distracted and all those things. If you feel like you've got a trajectory, as we knew we did, getting started on act 2 and really because building the next business will take you 3 to 5 years to get it to be of scale. Yeah. And as you scale, it is law of large numbers. For it to be meaningful, it can't be a $5 million business. It's got to be a $50 million business for it to matter 3 to 5 years from now. So you just got to get going on that stuff early.
This is Microsoft's big conundrum. Like they were like, yeah, we need something that has $1 billion in earnings if we're going to buy it. It's like,
Right.
I'm sorry, what?
For it to be at all.
Not $1 billion in revenue. Like it's got to have $1 billion in
Yeah.
earnings to even move.
To move the needle.
To move the needle. It's
Yeah.
like, what's,
Hence LinkedIn. Right?
Hence LinkedIn. It's like one of the few
Yeah.
things that could actually
Be of that scale.
perhaps. Hey, the one thing we left unfinished during the breaks was why has email had a resurgence? What is it about email that makes it so resilient?
Yeah.
And why is it having the resurgence? Do you think?
I think email is a channel that will outlive us all. Mark my words. It is, the number of times you hear email's dead. I think that's happened about 5 subsequent times over the last 20 years.
Right.
And every time that has been wrong.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why I think that's true. Number one, it has ridiculous reach. It is virtually ubiquitous. There are, I can't remember the exact number off the top of my head. I would say something on the order of 6 billion unique email addresses on the planet. The average person has 1.5 or 2 of them. So you got 3 or 4 billion people that have one of these things. And as I said now, and it made the jump over to mobile from desktop. So it's, that was one of the things that was going to kill email.
Yeah.
You're going to go from desktop to mobile, and all of a sudden now
you're done. Yeah.
Guess which application is most often used on your smartphone? Your email client.
Uber Eats for me. But,
Your email client. So it has incredible reach. It's super ubiquitous. It made the mobile jump, so it's in your pocket now at all times. People check it a gazillion times a day, and it's super cost effective relative to all these other channels that you can go spend with Google on SEM or Facebook on social advertising, et cetera. The cost to send emails is dramatically lower. So your ROI, there are all these studies done. You get like a $38 return for every dollar you put into an email program. And when they compared it to, say, online social advertising with Facebook or something else, email was like, I'll get the stat wrong, but it was like 3 to 5 times higher ROI, more efficient. Because it's so cost effective. Yeah. So there are a bunch of reasons why. And by the way, we did our own surveying of Gen all the way to Gen Z. Because that was the other argument I always get.
They're not going to have an email address. Yeah.
No kid. No, none of these teenagers are always texting, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, they're just going to have a phone number.
I have a 12-year-old and a 9-year-old. They've had emails for 4 or 5 years, not because daddy runs an email company. No. But because every time they go to sign up for an application at school, you know what they have to use?
Google Chrome, Docs.
And online, all those things require an email address to sign up for the app. You want to go use this school app or that school app, they ask. It is the online identifier of choice today globally for every application. It's still the thing that we all rely on. Yeah. It's your digital identity.
Yeah. And it's open source. Nobody owns it, right? It's
nobody
a protocol.
Owns it. You look at the number, people will switch physical home addresses more than they will their email.
That is 100% true. I'm going to keep Jason at calicanis.com for a while.
Yeah.
First name, at last name. Right. I don't think I'm giving it up anytime soon. Well, listen.
That's right.
Sameer, what a great discussion. A lot of wisdom in there on running these companies. And congratulations. I know it's been a big, long road. And
thank you. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you coming on and doing the victory lap, as it were.
It's so much
You get
fun.
To sleep a little bit.
Not really.
No sleep?
We just had our day one, our first day of when the transaction closed on Friday, and it was a huge celebration, lots of fun, and a ton of energy and excitement. Yeah. We feel like we are accelerating, not slowing down. Because the opportunity just got that much bigger.
Are you going to keep the company separate for a little bit, or how does that integration work? You're just figuring that out now?
We've been figuring it out over the last 3 months. And it was interesting. When we first started, we thought we're going to keep them totally separate.
Right.
And then as we got through the integration planning, you're like, well, that's really silly. There are a lot of places here where we really should stitch them together a little bit more closely sooner. Yeah. And then there are other places where we want to keep running at speed in a different path, and that's totally fine. And so we've been parsing that over the last 3 months, and I think have a ton of clarity on that now. And now we just got to run.
It's so great when you can just for a developer to log into one account and you log into your Twilio account, you see your SendGrid stuff pop up and vice versa. Yeah. That's going to take a little bit of time to build that unified login, but the unified login is going to be great because you have these 2 different data sets and yum, if you can reconcile all that.
And help customers stitch together a digital profile for every one of their users, so that they know that Sameer at gmail.com is the same as this cell phone number.
555-1212, right? That's genius. GDPR, good for your business, bad for your business, good for the industry, bad for the industry? All this
I
it's
think
pretty intense, right?
It is. It was a very heavy lift for the industry generally. What I would say about it, Jason, is I think it imposed a discipline that was probably good around how we treat and protect PII and personally identified information. So I think that part was good. I think there's a lot there that prevents some things where you could drive innovation that would actually help the user experience, because you can't, as a provider, and we see 3 billion. We send an email to over 3 billion unique email recipients every quarter.
Yeah,
that's more than half of the world's online population. It's
crazy.
A ridiculous number. We could, with all of that insight, be able to do a lot more for any individual customer if we were allowed to use the learnings across it.
Right.
But GDPR puts you in, has some guardrails that prevent you from doing that stuff. So I think it was good with it that came, bad with it that came.
Feels like
mixed bag.
Yeah, feels like the U.S. framework maybe too light, GDPR too tight.
That's probably right.
It's probably somewhere in between the two.
Yeah.
It did seem like some websites were even like, you know what? If you come from an IP address in Germany or in London or Paris, they were just like, yeah, no, not for you.
Yeah.
I think they've resolved most of that, but a lot of people were just like, we don't really need the European traffic. Sorry.
Yeah, because this is too much of a lift.
It's just too much work
to
service.
To try to comply
with
those regulations.
And those 15% of users were probably not monetizing anyway. It's sort of hilarious when you think about it. Like, we don't need that part of the world.
Yeah, no.
Bad for Europe.
But I think we've both companies, Twilio and SendGrid, invested a ton to make sure we were GDPR compliant. It's actually now a kind of an advantage for us because we're at scale enough that we could make that investment and say we welcome all customers from around the globe. Yeah.
Hey, everybody, go to SendGrid.com, follow @SendGrid, and I use it. I endorse it. I love it. It's fantastic. We built Inside.com off of it, and it's really just a great product. And what a great story.
Thank you.
I mean, to the founders as well who are watching, I'm sure, this podcast, congratulations to you as well.
Amen.
And Techstars. What a great story for Techstars. I saw the two Davids just the other week. They came by my house when we had our
wonderful
barbecue.
Team.
And great to see them be the first IP. It was the first IPO, even before any Y Combinator comes, because Dropbox came after you. So there's been two.
We love Techstars.
And then Airbnb will be the next one. Yeah, now you got all this money that you made. You can be an angel investor. You started angel investing yet?
Not yet, but I'm going to call on you for some advice, maybe.
Absolutely. Got a book for you to read.
Jason.
We'll see you all next time on This Week in Startups. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
You crushed it.